Hi, my name is Deborah Henney. I'm a wife, author, mother, speaker. And today I want to release a prophetic word dated in my journal as October 15th, 2022. And it is called strike. Now, this was a developing word that I kind of made some notes before I went into what the Lord said. And I say developing because it started out by me hearing tones. And I know I've mentioned this before in maybe a couple interviews and a couple other prophetic words, but I started hearing these pure tones in the spirit. The first one I figured out was at about 528 hertz. Now that is a tone that's pretty close to treble C. If you're familiar with music, it's the C above middle C. And this medical community has actually studied that and found that it is a healing tone. It kind of balances out the endocrine system, specifically with dopamine, which does a lot of motor control, and releases oxytocin, which is the relationship hormone or the bonding hormone that we often think of in relationship to pregnancy and nursing mothers. And I started hearing that. I don't have the date in my journal, but it was quite a while ago. And it would come and go and come and go. And then on the 9th of November, which is actually after I prayed into this word and got some more revelation about it, I heard a tone that was about 40 hertz. So opposite end of the keyboard. And that is being researched into possible pain treatment, but it is the first sound in a heartbeat where the blood goes from the chambers into so it's like opening up the heart to let the blood flow through, which I thought that in particular was very key, and especially that combination of opening up the blood flow or the life and letting it gush forth, and pain treatment. And so it was just an interesting, very interesting tone that God was releasing in the spirit. So let me read the word as he gave it to me back in October of last fall. He says, I am striking the line, and with it there will be a great release of healing. Sounds of healing will go forth, and also sounds of freedom. I have called my people to hold the line in praises of faith, to stand firm and war through worship. And as my people have been faithful to carry out these words, I am getting ready to strike and break forth. I am the Lord of angel armies. I am in the shadows as I am in the light. It has been a time of shadows for many, but my light is going to break forth as the new season dawns upon the earth. The first sound is the sound of healing, and that was the higher tone, the 528 hertz. The first sound is the sound of healing, a healing in my body, a healing in people, and a healing in between. In the sense there was in the relationships between people, there's going to be a healing in people's hearts and also in relationships of people. And sometimes you kind of need one for the other. At least that's been my experience. So there will be a healing in people and a healing in between. There will be a repair in the lines in my nets. So again, that in between, that healing and repair in ministries and in church networks and in the church body. God has been speaking a lot to me about nets and networks. And as he's been speaking that, the sense over and over again is in the larger body and in the church, that he is bringing a repair and a unity and a healing work from church to church, from part of the body to different parts of the body. And that's going to be crucial for the outpouring that he's bringing, a repair in the lines of the nets. And lines 2, he's been releasing, or the sense with that is that it's, again, that relationship. that communication, that ministry, line of ministry in the spirit and in the natural. There's a healing there. So the sound of healing is rising, and I am increasing the frequency and the amplitude. Again, he's really going back to kind of playing on words here, which I've noticed as I continue to hear from the Lord. He likes to do that, playing on words, increasing frequency and amplitude. Again, that's a physics concept, with frequency being how fast the sound wave moves, and amplitude being how large. So frequency would be, in the natural, we would hear it as pitch. So how high a pitch or how low a pitch, and amplitude we would hear as how loud, or the intensity of the sound. So he's increasing frequency and amplitude. So he's increasing how often and the power in that. So the sound of healing is rising. He's increasing the frequency and the amplitude, both how often and how powerful and how mighty we see it or receive it. Okay, the sound of healing is rising, and I am increasing the frequency and amplitude. There will be a resonance, a deep, resounding, and rich tone that will fill and seal even the smallest chamber, as my people allow my voice and the sound of my heartbeat to reach deeply into the fabric of their beings that I've built and knit together. So again, resonance is that two items. Again, he's really playing on physics terms here. Resonance is when two items vibrate at the same frequency. And the result is increase in the power. So for example, when you put a shell up to your ear, what you're hearing are sound waves that are always all around you. But when they bounce around the hard walls of that shell and the shape of that shell, you can actually hear them, because the resonance as they bounce around in the shell increase the intensity of the tiny, tiny sound waves that we can't pick up on our own. And it makes us able to hear them. So what he's saying is there's a resonance, a deep, resounding, and rich tone that will fill and seal even the smallest chamber. And again, chamber here, the sense was it's our hearts. They're chambers in our hearts, but also into our bones. And that I'll talk about more in the next word that I release. But even as I've been in worship services in my church in my own time, there's something God is doing in the deepest, deepest parts that I can feel physically as we worship and as we press into his presence, that there's a resonance that's going into the very deepest parts of the fibers of our beings. Even the cell at the cellular level is kind of how I'm feeling. It's going to be so interwoven into who we are that it's not going to be able to be separated. I don't know if that's really the right way to say it, but it's basically a very, very, very deep work and transforming work that he is doing in our lives, of weaving this and weaving his sound into his church. The sound of his heart and the sound of healing that is going to fill even the smallest chamber into the fabric of their beings. Okay, I'm just going to repeat that sentence. So there will be a resonance, a deep, resounding, and rich tone that will fill and seal even the smallest chamber, as my people allow my voice and the sound of my heartbeat to reach deeply into the fabric of their beings that I have built and knit together. Where it has looked like there was no life, even where it has looked barren for years. I am declaring that bones will sing. Again, and I kind of alluded to this just a little bit ago, and I'll go into it more in the next word that I release. But the smallest chamber, when I looked it up, in our bones, there are tiny chambers at the cellular level, and they are actually called chambers when I looked it up, because I had to Google this one. I was like, okay. But anyway, so bones will sing. So it's again going down to that tiniest level of us as individuals and also us as the church, that there's a work that he's doing within the structure, within the framework of who we are and who we are as a body of Christ, that God is bringing life. And he's declaring, it's almost like a play on Ezekiel's prophecy, where the dry bones came to life. It's kind of the sense that God is releasing in this time. Bones are gonna sing. The deepest parts of who we are and the deepest parts of the structural and the framework of who we are as individuals and as a church, it's gonna come to life and resound and reverberate with the Lord's sound. So bones will sing. Do not be deceived by appearances. The shroud of the shadow is about to be removed. The light will shine from without, and the light will emanate from within. And my glory will be made known, even in the place of barrenness. I am the one who makes the desert a garden and life from the dirt. I am the one who will cause a reverberation in the bones, and with it a miraculous, radiant outflow of healing and life. The second sound. And that's that lower tone with the opening of the heart that is also associated with pain and pain management. I am the one who will cause a reverberation in the bones, and with it a miraculous, radiant outflow of healing and light, the second life, the second sound. The second sound is the sound of the beginning stages of this outflow. Yes, there is a pressing. Yes, there is a building up of pressure and what feels like crushing. I do not press to destroy, but to release life and my fragrance. Allow me to burst forth through you in this time, so my heart may be known in a new way, a deeper way, a purer way. Just as blood cannot leave the heart and release life, sustenance, and healing to the natural body without a contraction, my life, my healing, and my sustenance is released into the earth through this pressing in my people's lives. Take heart, take my heart, and release it into the world. So again, the second sound, the pressing and the crushing. The Bible talks about being pressed and being crushed, that it pleased the Lord to crush Jesus. And in that crushing, he released eternal life. So what God is saying is that there's a pressing, a buildup of pressure, and a crushing, but it is not to destroy us. It is to release his fragrance. When we juice, for example, in our house, if we juice lemons, if we juice, whatever we're going to juice to make lemonade, it's that crushing and that pressing that really releases the juices. It releases what's inside, comes out. It releases the fragrance. And what God is saying is there's a crushing that he's bringing, but take heart, so take courage, take my heart. So don't it's another interesting play on words. Take heart, have courage, but take my heart through this time. Allow me to release my heart in you and weave my heart in you so you can release it into the world. Release my heart into the world through this crushing. I know sometimes, we have things in our lives. I mean, we're all human, we're all people, right? And nobody's perfect, but part of that process of sanctification and of being made more into his image is sometimes things are so deeply rooted, and maybe we don't know how to get it out of our lives. It's been so deeply rooted and so pervasive that the only way out is to crush, so it comes out, so God can fill that place with his glory and with his presence. And I know that is a work that he's doing in this time in many people. There's a crushing to uproot, to get out the stuff that's deep inside of us. And as he's able to get that out of us, he can fill those places with his glory, with his presence, with his grace, with his sound, so we can more clearly, more powerfully, and more with greater attunement release his sound, the sound of his heart song, into the world. And that is going to be a key part of this great move of God that he is doing. It's an exciting time. The preparation time isn't always, the crushing, I'm going to be real, it's not fun, but it is a needed time to make sure that we are ready, because this is a season of preparation to get us ready for this great move that God is doing. So there is hope, there is promise, there is glory, and there's preparation. So till next time, be blessed.